It is Charles Dawson on pole. It is go. It is a good start for the Mercedes as Giacomo Petrovelli tries to rumble up alongside him on the outside, heading down to Riches. Nick Jones on his toes, looking the Porsche on the inside as they all funnel down towards Riches. A little bit of dirt kicked up. Maybe Mark Smith in that pink and black McLaren, not quite so quickly out of the blocks, but it's Dawson in the lead. It's Petrovelli second, Kevin Say third-ish, because round the outside goes Rob Collard. Alex Martin goes round the outside as well, but he's hung out to dry. Mark Smith with the tail-wagging McLaren losing out to him, but look, Dawson's checked out already.
Great start, and look at Miller in GT4. That Ginetta has taken the two optimum McLarens. Could see him on the inside out of turn one. Great start from the 84 Mahiki car.
Damage on the number 90 McLaren. Looked flapping bodywork on that right rear corner, so there's been a little bit of a brush already, and I just wonder whether that's going to part company or whether the scrutineers are going to get concerned. Here's a replay of the start.
Yeah, is it going to be contact from the front of this Ginetta we're on board with, and then that more yellow McLaren on our left? We go to the inside, we use the pit exit. That is legal. It's a dotted line. It's actually contact between the two cars. Hopkinson, for me, goes in a bit hot, misses the apex, and then opens the door for Miller. I apologise to Josh Miller. You were fully innocent. It was don't hit your teammate. Rule number one of motorsport.
I can almost hear the cries coming out of the Optimum garage, can't you? But what that has done, he's put the Ginetta in the lead of the class. Then Josh Miller ahead as Charles Dawson leads in GT3 from Petrovelli, from Collard, from Zay, from Martin, from Smith. Then you've got Simon Orange ahead of the Honda in the hands of Johnny Ip. That's Carl Cavers, currently at the rear of the GT3 part of the pack on the tail of Duncan Cameron. But Charles Dawson doing what he needs to do here to pull away. And bear in mind that Petrovelli in second place, won at Spa, ergo gets 10 seconds of extra time to serve in the pit lane by way of success compensation.
Yeah, but Petrovelli fastest out of anyone in that middle sector. Pull the gap into Dawson by a tenth of a heart. As we see the Lambo with that V10 against the V8 of that Mercedes. It's going to be a drag race, and it's going to be hard to call at this point. You've got Martin against Say. Martin has got the speed, but he's on the outside line. Smith as well looking there. Kevin Say diving to the inside. They're going to go 2 by 2. This is hard to do. Very clean so far. You can see the dirt there going against Martin, and Kevin Say keeps that position. In the meantime, as they still stay side by side, so I thought that was going to be job done. Martin really trying to hang it out round the outside, finally tucks in. But look at Collard, he'd had a good start, and he's actually dropped Kevin Say after overtaking him.
That leading the class is Josh Miller, and he's just picked up a track limit warning as well. Plus, he's now got Luca Hopkinson right up behind him. Through they turn, and the margin at the start of this lap was 0.293 of a second. And so far, the good news for Mark Warren, nobody seems overly worried about the flapping bodywork.
No, it's a light enough part where I don't think the scrutineers will be deeming that a dangerous piece of bodywork. The team will most probably just rip it off in the pit stop, I think, rather than tape it. Miller starting to struggle with the front of that Ginetta, it seems. He's trying to open these corners up. Hopkinson will be weighing up where he's stronger. Just remember these track limits. It's a matter of fact here at Snetterton. There's pressure sensors on the exit of 7 of the corners, and that's why we see them so prevalent here. Once you've done your 5th track limit warning, that will attract a penalty.
So nose to tail pretty much in GT4.
Fastest lap taken from Dawson by 0.02 of a second. So we talk about BOP, Mark Lemmer getting his small violin out, but I would say the BOP looking pretty good there. And actually Kevin Say looks to be quite strong as well. That gap at the moment, we see Ip off at the moment. That's onto the back straight. Is that just he was by himself? I think he would have lost the rear coming on the exit. We saw that yesterday in qualifying with Curry. The driver's so scared of the track limit sensors, sometimes they're having to manipulate their lines.
So he's rejoined. That's going to cost quite a lot of ground. It's going to throw him from 7th down to 13th position then. And Johnny Ip, who has been rapid this season, goes through.
He's lost the end plate on the right side of the wing is the only interesting part. So there might have been contact with something at some point, but that end plate of the wing, that really helps the air stay efficient on that rear wing.
And it looked a really nervous car coming through the S's there, didn't it? So it wouldn't be a surprise necessarily to see the car picked, but that's going to need a new rear wing, and it's going to perhaps need a whole new rear section, and that's just going to take a lot of time. So they're really up against it now.
Yeah, and that then gives the lead in Silver Am to the Beechstein Aston. So the two blue cars at the tail end of GT3, our Silver Am contenders, have now swapped round because of that. I don't think they'll be able to fix that in the pit stop. That end plate's probably pulled all the thread out, and so that isn't a tape job there. So they're going to have to live with that one. That's going to be difficult for the remaining 46.5 minutes.
It is, because it's important aero, and the car continuing. It lost round about 20 seconds or so on that last lap, so very time consuming, and it's dropped it to last outright in GT3, and as you say, second in the Silver Am. A big dive was going on there, was it not, at the inside of the McLaren? Duncan Cameron, I think, thinking about making a move as they went into the corner. So this is the Honda recovering, second in Silver Am, into the right of Agostini. Johnny Ip, who raced in this country in single-seater, club-level single-seaters, to get a bit of experience. Yes, the move has been a successful one, look, because Duncan Cameron has got ahead of Morgan Tilbrook. So Morgan, what's going on here? We were tipping you pre-race to go forward. If anything, he's losing out on Carl Cavers now. Comes up onto the tail of the number 77 Optimum car. So as they run now down into the left-hander of the first part of the S's. Carl Cavers now comes up onto the tail of the number 77 Optimum car. So as they run now down into the left-hander of the first part of the S's. They're out of the same stable, those cars, different liveries of course, but Morgan Tilbrook's car losing a place, not being able to really do anything about gaining the ground back, and coming under more threat. There's a McLaren and an Aston right on his shoulder. Yeah, seasoned and Morgan Tilbrook not in a happy place against Carl Cavers, like you said, first time in the Optimum McLaren, so he will not be happy. Kirchhofer has got a lot of work to do from 10th place at the moment. As indeed, as they come out of Coram. Right, into the turn 12 left-hander heading up towards the timing line. Up front, the lead gap has crept up to 1.4 seconds. Duncan Cameron then now in that Ferrari goes by, and as he does so, he is up into 9th place. Morgan Tilbrook down to 10th. Now, don't forget, we've got the pit window for the GT3 cars opening after 22 minutes, so we're not that far away from that in real terms. As you see the McLaren there just kicking up the dirt. Now, how did he lose the place? Well, Duncan Cameron teed this up really well. He was coming from a fair way back, look, heading down towards Agostini, and it was a pretty late dive, and Morgan Tilbrook left the door open. Was there contact? Not quite, but I think that caught Morgan by surprise. What a move. We said turn 4 was an overtaking spot, and this is Morgan Tilbrook. Let's see if he sees him. You can see by his steering input, it looks okay, and then suddenly Ferrari, and actually I think he saw him and there wasn't any contact, was there? I couldn't feel a bang there, but great move from Duncan Cameron. Absolutely. Showing the pros how to do it. And that AF course Ferrari looking like it's got strong pace, because it's dropped that McLaren by a couple of seconds already. Yeah, it shows the difference, doesn't it, of running in clear air or being stuck in traffic, and as soon as he's been released, yeah, Duncan Cameron is flying, but he may well get onto the tail of yet more traffic, because there is Nick Jones' Porsche on board with the 90 McLaren here, and Mark Warren, one of the shiniest bronze graded drivers out there, and the illustration of that is how close he is to the overall lead battle, and that's why, correctly David, he's going to inherit the race lead if it stays like this. Timing there for race leader Dawson, gets past the same car, Mercedes AMG, but of course GT3 versus GT4, yellow headlights the easiest way to distinguish, and there's a great illustration, look at the aero difference between 3 and 4, but Petrobelli now compromised there, and the Mercedes doing the right thing, Curry just taking his line, but this will lose a lot of time to Petrobelli. I think that could be 7 or 8 tenths of a second lost, and Dawson will be a small smile behind that crash helmet as he thunders onto the Bentley straight. They're really tight there, Barwell. They might have stood on their own toes. As you see Kevin Say pushing back, the car has to leave immediately. It cannot sit there and do that. It's actually going to get blocked in potentially by Martin. They're all trying to select first gear. Championship organiser Lauren Granville in the white shirt there looking on, making sure this is all above board. At the moment, I would say everyone has escaped a penalty thus far. We saw it last year, cars getting blocked in. So far, everyone has done a good job. As the Porsche going through, Sven Muller now at the wheel, having relayed Nick Jones, and as there, number 3 goes by, that's now Callum McLeod. So Carl Gavers was a late stopper, and off the road goes 97. That is Tom Wood, who just gets as far as the barrier at the end, really, of his first flying lap. So Tom Wood has had a big lose going into Rich's big spin. He's able to hook a gear and get going, but that's a weird one, because Tom Wood doesn't often make mistakes like that. He's a very handy driver, and out of nowhere, all of a sudden, the car just snapped away from him. Yeah, he wasn't really near anyone coming across the start line either into turn 1. He'd just gone past Ravi Ramreed in GT4. He was half a second clear of him. Is that just his first attack there? Some rear damage. Don't know if that was already on the car, but on the timing screen, he was clear across the start line. What have we got here? We're going to see him shoot into shot round the right, and one of the McLarens was near him. And, that must have been leaving pit lane. That's why I can't see it on the timing screen. The damage has come here, and 77, look at it, it's just a complete loss by himself, rear left.
left really loose. He looked like he was on the racing line. Didn't particularly look like he'd made a major issue, but the car snapping ever so violently on him.
Right, this is the leader then. It's now 42 in the hands of Cian Jewis. So the same car leads the race, but now with the second driver aboard, Cian Jewis, that we heard from on the grid, leads the way. 14 laps in the book, 33 minutes of the race to go, and he's absolutely out clear. But Maxi Goertz's first flying lap is the best of the race, at 1:47.438. Now this is going to be interesting. Donington, think back to the opening round of the championship. You had the 2Cs Mercedes, Jewis and Goertz almost together when they left the pit, and Goertz dropped back and actually fell into third place at the checkered flag. But here, straight off, he's on the attack, and the gap as a starting point is 10.3 seconds between the top two cars. So it's going to be a really interesting second stint, I think, in GT4, but this is the car that leads the way. It is Jack Brown at the wheel of it, Mark Warren doing everything that he had to do in the first stint, stay in the mix, and you see also in the pit stop they put a bit of sticky tape down on that flapping bodywork. So now Mark Warren can watch Jack Brown bring it home. Jewis long gone. This is second, number 18 Mercedes, the German driver Maxi Goertz. Their third, Scotsman Sandy Mitchell, and in fourth place here is Johnny Adam, whose last lap was quicker than the two ahead, but only by fractions of a second. That's the leading four then. This is fifth here, the black and pink McLaren of Martin Plowman. Sixth behind number one is Hugo Cook, and seventh, diving up the inside of the traffic, Marcus Clutton. Eighth is the Porsche here of Sven Muller, and then for ninth place, Matt Griffin in the Ferrari, and that's the car coming towards you right now.
Yeah, and a very lonely 10th position for Kirchhoffer, hiding behind that Mihiki Ginetta at the moment as he pops to the inside. We go on board, and awkward there. Blake Anglis trying to give him space. Kirchhoffer didn't expect him to, so they both just kind of lost time for no reason. Now we blast past on the inside. Our pole sitter from the British GT round at Spa. Our pole sitter by 0.4 of a second at the 24 hours of Spa. Marvin Kirchhoffer working hard to try and raise the stock. And again, he's still got the brake temps on. Optimum weren't happy with me picking up on their tyre pressures yesterday in qualifying. I could see on their dash, maybe they're trying to hide some more data from us at the moment.
Hugo Cook, in the meantime, trying to get through the traffic. He's shaken off the challenger Marcus Klassen, gets up the inside of Chris Salkeld there in the BMW that's forced offline, but slots into the queue of cars now. Klassen up the inside line in 67, and he will go by as well. Meanwhile, lead gaps come back down again as Mark Lemmer and nearest to you, Rob Collard, watch on.
As well, so this is going to be a three-car battle, McLaren, Lambo, McLaren, and potentially they're in the wrong order. I think Clutton could be the fastest, Cook slightly quicker than Plowman at the moment, Plowman the slowest out of the three.
Drive-through penalty, car 71 for not respecting track limits. 71 drive-through penalty.
The voice you've just heard is that of Peter Daly, the race director, and because the majority of corners here all have sensors, so there's not much argument if you've been off the road. The evidence is there presented to race control, and Charlie Robertson then is going to serve a drive-through penalty in BMW number 71, then the Century Motorsport car, which at the moment is second in GT4, and he's going to tumble. Go Cook in the Lamborghini, then Marcus Klassen's McLaren. So whatever Optimum are doing with their McLarens, they've not found the same setup, the same pace that Paddock Motorsport has, or indeed in number 67 the JMH team has got. So Optimum with the Tilbrook Kirchhoffer car really struggling in contrast. There's 84 Jack Mitchell, who's about to be given effectively a place back again in GT4. Now, track limit second warning to Sandy Mitchell in third place, and off the road has gone Hugo Cook then. That was coming out of the right-hander of Oggies up towards Williams, and not only was he off the road, he'd lost all momentum.
Yeah, he's been off the road for a long time for how much time he's lost. I'd imagine maybe he's had a huge moment on the exit and it's taken a long time to get there. Has he got more of an issue? That car had an ABS issue with that man in our shot earlier. Have we had another braking issue? And these cars designed to have ABS, and as soon as you lose ABS, it is so difficult for the driver to get these cars stopped efficiently. Dynamically looks okay, no punches, no suspension, no bodywork damage, but if he's not able to attack the brake, we heard Rob was maybe able to reset that and continue, but as a driver that's the worst possible problem to have.
And it is in 12th place overall, with a good little battle in GT4 just up the road ahead. That's getting closer. We'll come to that in a moment. The Honda is about then to go into bomb hole. We've got 7 minutes on the clock, and this is the GT4 fight. 84 Jack Mitchell, Harry George in 17, and this is for second in GT4 and for the lead of silver. So it's an important fight all round. Up the road is Jack Brown, who has just gone across the timing line. They're not going to catch him, but for silver honours, for second place within the GT4 segment of the race, it is an important battle. The gap between Brown and Mitchell is 14.5 seconds, and Mitchell to George, half a second, and that changes because the Honda gets between them.
Yeah, that would have annoyed George. Nothing at one end there, and it's going to get past Mitchell and a better guys.
Car 67, 10-second time penalty added to your race time for contact with car 1. Car 67, 10-second time penalty.
Yeah, and the McLaren very strong at the end of the straights as well, and Jack will know that strengths and weaknesses of the car oh too well. So he will be starting to look in his mirrors and start to defend into these corners. He'll hold the inside line ever so slightly just to cover off when that McLaren gets close. At the moment, he won't be too bothered because it'll be way too far back for George to be able to outbrake that Ginetta and get the move done, as we can now see Mitchell still near the rear of Gotts, but nowhere near the level of pressure at the start of this stint. So the pace has equalised between them, and Sandy Mitchell not able to do anything about that second place 2Cs car.
So over the line then now goes Maxi Goetz, doing enough to hang on to that place, even though he's a bit frustrated that he can't really do anything at all about the race. Leader, 9.3 seconds is the margin. Gap down going into turn 1. Goetz bounces up the curb as he had to squeeze past Phil Keane in the GT4 Mercedes. He's done it, but all of that suddenly brings Sandy Mitchell back into the mix, and Maxi Goetz with dusty tyres had to work really hard to get the car slowed down and to turn into turn 2 there.
Ex-Barwell driver Phil Keane holding up the 2Cs car, allowing the Barwell Lamborghini to get closer. I don't suggest anything untoward from Philip Keane, just merely an observation, David.
You're very observant. I've often said this. So Sandy Mitchell observes now that the back of that Mercedes is a lot larger than it was, meaning he's a lot closer than he was, meaning that it might be game on for second place. But I still think actually that Goetz, with clear circuit ahead of him now, is going to be able to get back into a rhythm and just start to stretch that margin of gain. But it does show what the traffic can do.
Yeah, it really does. And Phil Keane did nothing wrong. I'm not suggesting that. He held his line, but he wasn't interested in helping Gotts pass, considering Phil Keane not really in a battle with anyone. 13 seconds behind the car in front and 13 seconds ahead of Angus and the Mahiki Ginetta.
So as far as the race leader is concerned, it is up front at the moment. The Kian Jewis Mercedes AMG, 9.3 seconds to the good. And as the cars will sprint their way here over the timing line, it remains the 84 Ginetta just ahead, chased by 17 McLaren. That gap is still half a second, so it is a very tight fight between the two, but Jack Mitchell still just with the advantage as the cars again make that run up to the Wilson hairpin. We've had Kian Jewis go through to start lap number 32. There in the Optimum Hopkins and George part of the pit bunker, they look on, and it's so frustrating, no doubt, this for Harry George. He's almost there, ready to make a move, but you know, finding another 2 lengths, another half a second, it's much easier said than done. Yeah,
the team will be telling him how many track limits he's got left, basically. Has he got any to use up? Can he release that steering lock, carry another kilometre or 2 onto the pit straight, onto the back straight? Is that the difference he'll be able to use? Slightly underhand, but allowed in that regard. And if he did get past, that would make it an optimum 1-2. We've not spoken about the sister car, Jack Brown, leading by so far. So would we get a 1-2? We've got a 1-2Cs at the moment in GT3, and this could be an optimum 1-2 in GT4. 4 Cs, I think, isn't it, for the lead? The 2 Cs cars together then, as Kian Jewis leads Maxi Goetz by 9.4 seconds. It has been up and down, that gap, admittedly, but it has never looked as though Kian Jewis was under serious threat. Second warning of track limits to Sven Muller, incidentally. But as far as Marcus Klassen is concerned, his 10-second penalty at the end of the race is liable to drop him further down the order. George on the tail now. This is a serious effort coming up for the McLaren. Remember, this is for second in GT4 as the cars go into bomb hole through the right, the road through the compression up the other side, heading towards Coram Curve now. And as they come into this long, fast right, avoid the floppy marker, the race leader has got a minute and change on the clock. Long gone is Jack Brown, taking McLaren number 90
to a fourth GT4 victory of the season. Second and third still arguing over the silver lead. And there in the background, look, about to start his last lap, is Cian Jewis, who must think it's pretty easy, this GT racing, Lark. What's remarkable about Cian is that he only had one race weekend in anything last season. He was a late addition to the 2C squad this year. And even though he only races these cars in British GT, unlike Maxi Götz, who's in one every week, he has done an outstanding job. For second in GT4, they are closer than ever, and Harry George now trying to make a move, but all of this is a bit risky ahead of the race leader. Cian Jewis thinking, oh no, I don't need this on the last lap.
Yeah, Cian Jewis is going to make this the last lap for these two cars as well, because when he takes the checkered flag, it falls to everyone behind. Harry George will be trying to go. Jack Mitchell deciding to defend. I can see why, because he doesn't want the Mercedes to open the door. He's going to make Jewis go around the outside. Very smart, very hard from there. And Jewis would have been going, what the hell are you doing defending from me? But very, very bright driving from Jack Mitchell.
To make sure that Harry George couldn't squeeze up the inside. They are close again, as you can see. So this is second in GT4, remember, and it's for the silver lead, and it's game on as Harry George goes wide on the outside line, coming into Oggies, but Jack Mitchell stands his ground on the inside all the way up. There's no chance of getting the undercut on the outside line. The dustier line is Harry George, and he's sideways. He hangs onto the slide, but that's done it for him. So Jack Mitchell now chuckling in his helmet, thinking, gotcha, gave you the outside line. I knew it was going to be dustier. Traction brakes, and there's a rather resigned shake of the head. Game over as far as battling for second place is concerned. Cian Jewis, though, another masterclass in how to win in GT3. So in GT3, Pro-Am won by Charles Dawson and Cian Jewis. Silver-Am by Johnny Ipp and Jay Bridger. In GT4, Pro-Am and outright Jack Brown and Mark Warren. And in the Silvers, Jack Mitchell and Josh Miller staying ahead to the end. This is the outright result, provisionally. Charles Dawson and Cian Jewis, the winners, from Maxi Götz and Kevin Say. Alex Martin and Sandy Mitchell, third. Giacomo Petrobelli and Johnny Adam, fourth, ahead of Martin Plowman and Mark Smith. Nick Jones and Sven Muller rounding out the top six. Duncan Cameron, seventh, with Matt Griffin's help. Tough race for Rob Collard and Hugo Cook. They were eighth, ahead of Morgan Tilbrook and Marvin Kirchhoffer. Top 10, rounded out by Simon Orange and Marcus Clatton with that penalty. Mark Warren and Jack Brown then 2 laps down, but victorious in GT4 from Josh Miller and Jack Mitchell. Luca Hopkinson and Harry George taking third, and Ravi Ramid and Charlie Robertson fourth. But it could have been a different story but for their drive-through. Brandon Templeton and Chris Sulkels next, ahead of Joe Wheeler and Ian Duggan.